Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna go ahead and break YouTube rule number 1 right off the bat here and tell you this video might be a little bit boring. We're basically gonna be hanging out in a lost sector and squinting at our melee meter. The reason I'm making this video is to provide answers. What this is a direct follow-up to my Dawn Chorus exotic warlock helmet review. In that video, I was trying to synergize Dawn Chorus with some external sources. I tested out a handful of weapons and did find that Prometheus Lens does synergize with Dawn Chorus, to a certain extent. This sparked a lot of questions. Did you try this exotic? Did you try that exotic? Did this one work? Did you try doing it like this? Are you sure that didn't work? You get the point. I tested a whole slew of weapons post-release, and tried to provide every single person who had a question with an answer. Which is something that I'm always happy to do. I do my best to respond to every comment that shows up regardless. But in a lot of cases, seeing is believing, you know, it kind of helps the credibility along. So when looking for synergy, what exactly are we looking for? Well, simply put, we're looking for anything that will reduce our melee cooldown by applying burn damage to an enemy target. Let's take a peek at Dawn Chorus real quick. The exotic perk is Rites of Ember. Your daybreak projectiles cause targets to burn on contact and deal more damage to them. But the part we're mainly going to be focusing on is the next sentence. All of your burn effects last longer, and you gain a small amount of melee energy each time one of your burns damages a target. This is a bit misleading, because all of your burns definitely do not last longer. We saw this in the previous video when we tested out our solar grenade. The burn damage saw no additional ticks when Dawn Chorus was equipped, but it did reduce our melee cooldown. Where we can find the most prevalent effect of this exotic's capability is in Bottom Tree Dawnblade's melee, where 16 ticks of burn damage are applied to an enemy target in PvE. This is over a very long duration though, and as you can see with each tick of damage we are getting a small boost to our melee meter. This is what we're looking for in terms of synergy. That melee meter obviously is going to refresh on its own over time, but what we're watching for are these jumps. When looking at this with Prometheus Lens, you can see that when that perfect 5th round lands and detonates, it applies a burn damage to any enemies in the proximity, and this does not have increased burn duration, but it does reduce our melee cooldown with each damage tick. So what else can we do with this? Well, in the previous video we did establish that it must be burn damage, not simply damage over time, because Thorn and Lay Monarch did not work. Also in the previous video we did not see positive results from Jotun. Why? I'm figuring it's because the burn isn't actually applied to the target. It's a solar damage puddle that drops on the floor on impact. I double checked it here just to make sure, and yes, we are seeing burn damage ticks, but no melee regen. Sunshot was a very popular weapon that was asked about in the comments of the previous video. On a kill, Sunshot does create a solar damage explosion, but this explosion doesn't create that damage over time burn effect to targets that are struck by it. And since we're not seeing any damage over time here, our melee regen is not affected by Sunshot. Ace of Spades, while it is a kinetic weapon, through the Firefly perk it does create a solar explosion. But just like Sunshot, this is not applying the burn we need to boost our melee cooldown. Tommy's Matchbook, it does do solar damage, but doesn't necessarily burn the target. If we hold that trigger down long enough though, the gun will burn the user. Is this resulting in jumps to our melee meter? Sadly, no, but I think it would be absolutely hilarious if it did. Then Devil's Ruin, it does fire a solar laser, and a solar laser in theory should burn a target. Whether or not this is the case, here again we're not seeing the damage over time effect that we're looking for, so no increased melee cooldown. Prometheus Lens was another hot one in the previous video's comment section. Pun intended. Sorry. But I think the reason it drew a lot of attention is because of its synergy with Middle Tree Gunslinger, where burn damage does boost ability cooldown. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that same effect on our melee meter. Is it doing burn damage? Yes. Damage over time? No. And since I've already come this far with our non-heavy solar exotics, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish them off real quick. Duality. No. Merciless. No. Ariana's Vow. No. Borealis? No. And Hardlight? No. We do have some heavy exotics to look at too though. I'm gonna get Whisper of the Worm, Sleeper Simulant, and Heir Apparent right out of the way. No, no, and no. No blast damage, and no burn damage whatsoever. So they never really had a realistic chance. With Xenophage, the rounds fired from the weapon do carry explosive damage, but they do not burn. So Xenophage is gonna be a no. And outside of the Solar Raid exotics, that leaves 2 weapons that do have some serious potential. Two-Tailed Fox and the Prospector. We'll try out Two-Tailed Fox first. And yes, that is exactly what we're looking for. You can see those substantial jumps in the melee meter as the burn damage ticks away on Carl. Here again, no extended burn time, but that burn damage is doing the trick. Two-Tailed Fox is a yes. Next up is the Prospector. I don't know, but Ironworker, that's an arc exotic. It is indeed. But look here, sets targets on fire. Potential? Absolutely. Carl gets tagged by one of these grenades, and he is burning. That man has been set ablaze, but we are not seeing any boost or melee cooldown. Is it because it's arc fire? I don't know. It was kind of disappointing here. Don't leave yet though, we do have a little bit more to check. How about environmental solar damage? I did mess around with this in the previous video, and I thought I potentially saw positive results. We can blow the tanks on these Incendior targets, and they will burn enemy targets that are in the area. And while some of these enemy combatants definitely are burning, I'm not getting any boost to my melee. So whatever I thought I saw in the last video, I was not able to recreate. So I gotta put solar environmental damage as a no. What about Warmind cells though? If you throw on a burning cells mod, destroying a Warmind cell creates a blast of solar energy that causes enemy targets to burn for several seconds. So as we can see when we blow one of these Warmind cells up next to Carl, he does start taking burn damage. But these damage ticks are not translating to increased melee cooldown. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell ya. I have no idea why some burn effects count toward the melee regen and others do not. All I can say is that Prometheus Lens and Two-Tailed Fox definitely work. And last part, will any of these damage over time burns prime the target for increased super damage in the same way that our melee does? Alright, with the Warmind cells, on the first Dawnblade strike that lands, one of the 3 sets of damage numbers does appear in yellow. That tells me that it is doing extra damage, and it is kind of working, if you want to call that working. I tried it several times and these results were very consistent. When trying it out with the Prospector, I did see the same results. A single set of yellow damage numbers appears on the initial Dawnblade impact. So this is kind of working too. Here again, if you want to call this working. But moving back to Two-Tailed Fox, it does not appear to be working. And I must have tried this a dozen times. Those burn ticks are definitely rolling off the target when that first Daybreak projectile lands. And I'm seeing no yellow damage numbers on the initial impact. So one of the 2 exotics that actually does improve our melee cooldown does not prime the target for extra super damage. I'm not sure why this is the case, but this is the point where I throw in the towel. If you want to test out some of the solar raid exotics or try to find some extra synergy for yourself, feel free. If you find anything, leave it down in the comments, I would be glad to hear about it. But me, I'm gonna put this exotic to bed for the time being. I have grown very tired of testing it. But if you enjoyed this video, or if it cleared anything up for you, please remember to leave it a like. And to see more Destiny 2 content made by yours truly, feel free to subscribe to the Ironworker Gaming channel. If you'd like to catch me live, I will be streaming right here on YouTube from this point on. I'll be sure to post a heads up in the community tab if I'm planning on going live. And to contact me, you can look for Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, link will be in the description, or just leave a comment down below. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this breakdown. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.